What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Everyman's Arsenal, a podcast where we take a deep dive and learn more about your favorite influencers, brand managers from gear companies. And today we have one of our very own, Cody from TLD. What's up,
What's up,
man?
family? How you doing?
It's good to talk to you.
Yeah, it's crazy because normally when we do like the live chat, we're talking over each other, and every time you look like we'll be like, but it's gonna be strange, knowing when it's my turn to talk. So I'm looking forward to it.
Having a true back and forth.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know how many times on the live chat we're like, "Oh no, it's okay, go."
yeah,
But we
yeah,
both say that like, "No, you go." And then we
yeah,
start talking over each other again, and yeah, that's one of the drawbacks, I guess, of the live chat. But I love the opportunity to chat with our viewers and just a chance to see the team and BS with each other.
yeah. When we started that, 2 years ago, I guess now,
Yeah, yeah,
I never would have guessed that we would have regulars, one, like people that come every week to see what we have to say, even though they know it's nothing. You know, they just come to see us fly off the rails. But I've enjoyed the live chats. I enjoy talking to you guys like that once a week. I look forward to it, just like I'm a subscriber, really. So
yeah, yeah. It's interesting. One of the things I don't know if we've ever. I think Joe has talked about it before. I don't know if we've ever really done a deep dive because, like, I knew Joe
mhm.
from we were stationed together, and we ended up going to the same academy. Um, and I think you were like a couple classes ahead of us. Like you
Yeah,
graduated around the time that we started.
yeah,
Um, but there's also a connection between Joe with you, Joe, and Walsh.
yeah,
Can you go over that connection?
yeah. I really do love this story, and I think this is why uh, us as a team that we mesh so well together. Because honestly, we didn't all know each other all at once. Like, Walsh and I have been friends for a long time. Joe and I have been friends for a long time. Then we bring Walsh into the group. We bring you into the group, and we've all
Yeah,
become super close friends. Like, but so I'll back it all the way up to like the beginning. So I met Walsh in 2004 when was I PCS'd up to Offutt Air Force Base in Omaha, Nebraska. So we worked on the same plane together in maintenance, and we quickly became close friends. Like our shops were right next to each other, so our desks sat right next to each other. And the first time, like I really got to know Walsh, we were on alert together, which meant we were, in close confined spaces
yeah,
for like 7 days. And you really get to know somebody, you know, on a personal level when you're stuck with someone. So we were rooming together. It was two of us to a room, me and him, and that's why I always make fun of his feet uh, and the fact that he sleeps in his jeans. Like this is the first initial. Uh, when I met Walsh for the first time, that was the first thing I saw. Was like we were getting ready to go to sleep, and he was wearing jeans on alert. So yeah, been a classy dude. One of my best friends for since 2004, almost 20 years now.
yeah.
So that's where I knew Walsh. So eventually, uh, actually, as a matter of fact, myself, Walsh, and a third guy, we all came up and applied at the current command that I work for together, and I obviously stuck the application process out, and they kind of went off and did their own thing. That eventually how Walsh became a first sergeant. So, but I kind of teetered off and went a different route, and that's where I met Joe. So I met Joe my first duty station with this command, and we worked together for about 3 years, like super close. Like we were partners. Like we did
Yeah.
all our investigations together, all of it. And then, as a matter of fact, I deployed out of that office, and he replaced me at that deployment. So,
Oh, okay.
like, I mean, we were tied at the hip. And then I think we were gaming and stuff like that. And he kind of, well, let me. So he went to like a PME course,
Yeah.
like a professional military education course, and met Walsh. So I guess I think they were a smoke pit or something, talking. Someone brought up Offutt Air Force Base. Walsh was like, I'm from Offutt Air Force Base. And Joe was like, I know somebody that used to be at Offutt. And so they were like, Cody. So that's how they became became best friends at that PME course. They hung out with each other every day. And then we started playing, video games, all of
Yeah.
us together. That's where I initially met you. Uh, and honestly, we had never met in person until Joe's retirement.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys
So
remember we did the live chat? You and
yeah,
and Walsh were driving out for Joe's
yeah,
retirement. Yeah, that was the first time. Where did we go? Cracker Barrel? We went to Cracker
yeah,
Barrel
yeah.
for lunch.
That was
That was the first
the
time I
first
met
time I met you, but
you and
I
Walsh.
gave you a big hug because like I felt
Yeah.
like I already knew you. So
Yeah, and then for me,
it's been a ride.
as a joke, I go, as a growing up in a Mexican family, like hugs are part of everything. Like, you give everyone a
Mhm.
hug, and it was one of the weirdest things for my wife. We had a Christmas party, and she was like, "Who's this person?" Like, "Oh, that's my grandfather's. That's his ex-wife, and that's her
Yeah,
new husband." So that's Ira, something like that, and
yeah,
Raul, and everyone, she's like, why are they like, it was so foreign to her. But when you were like, what's up, buddy, it was
yeah,
it was easy for me, just because the culture that I grew up in, that was,
yeah,
yeah, we're brothers.
yeah. I mean, we get that in the military too. Like the unfortunate piece of it is, like, really, I only got to work with Joe for like 3 years, but in
Right.
that 3 year time frame, like we became super close, like family. Um, And so when I moved away, we obviously still keep in contact, and you don't realize how small the world is until you have something like where Joe and Walsh, two of my best friends, meet somewhere and become best friends. And then Joe brings in his best friend and he becomes my best friend. And now we're all four best friends. So
Yep.
it's, it's awesome.
It's like the Hangover in real life,
Yeah.
except less
Yeah.
less roofies.
Yeah. I'd probably be Zach Galifianakis in that scenario, but
Well, it's funny because, I think a lot of people, they look at our channel and they think, like, how the rude ones think, how dare these regular guys have an opinion about stuff. And
mhm.
it's like,
Yeah.
that's part of the fun of it, is us being, yeah, we're just regular, like, we play video games with each other,
Yeah.
we chat regularly, we're just four best friends. Like, what do you expect out of us?
And I think that's what makes the live chat so I don't know like I don't know if you call it dynamic or whatever, but we would do that anyways.
Yeah.
We would be having those same conversations. We even would do like group chats where we would all get on the group chat and just talk about the same stuff we talk about on the live chat. So
Yeah.
it makes it super natural for us to be doing it this way.
Yeah. We do it multiple times. It's not just a live chat, because we have our group chat,
Yeah.
and then, yeah, getting, like, every so often, Joe's like, I need help. I need help buying a spoiler for my Camaro. Can you
Yeah.
guys? Let's get a group chat going, and I'll show you these pictures. You tell me if you think it's real or not. And we talk about it.
And we don't have a clue, but
No.
what whatever.
Yeah, yeah, buddy, it's real. I think it's real.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like, I'm 99% sure it's real. I'm like, Joe, you would be the person I would call if I had a question about it. So if
Yeah,
you
why
think
you
it's
asking
real, it's
me?
real. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be like me asking Walsh, I don't know, something about crop insurance, and he's like, "Why are you asking me? You do more in crop insurance than I do."
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm curious then. You talked a little bit about your time in the military. You were you? I can't remember. Were you and Walsh hydraulic guys?
So
You
he
were kind of
was
hydro shop.
hydraulics. I was jet engines.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yep. So,
And you guys,
and if
that's where you
for
met
people
doing
that
maintenance.
aren't, yeah, for people that aren't familiar with that, like the specialist side, most people know what a crew chief is, as far as maintenance in the military, but we were specialists. So, and it just so happens that's, those two career fields normally kind of group together because they're similar thought, the way
Yeah,
we think. Like there are pointy heads and that are specialists and they play magic and stuff like that. And then there's the,
the
jet
hands-on
guys and the
guys.
hydro guys. We kind of hang out together. So
Yeah, it was when I was deployed in to Afghanistan when I was working on F-15s. We had the flight chiefs
mhm.
had their own offices. So you had like a specialist flight chief office, you had the crew chief flight chief office, and in the specialist flight chief office, one of our guys was a artist. He drew this big mural, and it had avionics, E&E, the jets, and those are there was one other one I can't remember what it was, but he put uh, at the top specialist, and at the bottom said we're
Mhm.
smart, so you don't have to be.
Yeah.
And that was
Yeah.
kind of our motto when we were in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
So
Ours was always even pilots have to have heroes.
so total total divergent. There was one time. You're familiar with a red ball, right?
Yeah.
Red ball. So red ball, for those of you that don't know, is when like the plane is about ready to take off for a mission and something breaks on it. And if we're going to check, we're going to plug in and talk to the pilot and see if we can walk him through troubleshooting it. Maybe it's an easy part that we could fix so he can continue on his mission. So I remember this one time I plugged in. I was an E&E guy, and there was like a generator failure or something like that. So I plug in, and the backseater on an F-15 is a weapons officer. So the front seater is pilot, backseater is a weapons guy. I plug in, and he goes, "How's it going, Chief? Pretty good, pilot." And he goes, "Well, actually, I'm a weapons systems officer." I go, "Oh,
Yeah.
actually, I'm an electrical and environmental systems craftsman." And he goes,
Yeah.
"They're like awkward pause." He goes, "Is it okay if I call you Chief?" I'm like, "As long as you don't mind me calling you pilot." He's like, "Okay, Chief. So here's what's going on." And yep,
Yeah.
okay, let me change out this GCU, and you're good to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so having those interactions with, sometimes you had a-hole pilots, but I'd say, I don't know, 60-70% of the time we had pretty decent pilots.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
My
then,
favorite. Go ahead.
no, go, because I'm gonna
I was gonna
change.
say back when I was a on B-52s is where I started my maintenance career field. We would always, since
The
I don't want to ruin the beginning of the story at the beginning, but anyways, we would have red balls and they would call us to the plane, and then you would see a pilot climb down and come get in the truck and be like, "Hey, I need to go back to base ops. I forgot something," aka that's code for I got to go poop. Can you bring me back to where the bathroom is so I don't have to go on the airplane? That was
Yeah,
that was all the time. Like when they would be like, "Oh, I forgot something," and then they would come out of base ops and they wouldn't have that something in their hands. We're like, "We
right.
know what you were doing." So
There is a story. Again, totally changing topics, but the Kelsey brothers, Jason
yeah,
so there's a story on their podcast when Jason asked Kylie to marry him, he wanted to get her dad's permission. So they were at the parents' house, like to get into the car, and he was like, "I'll be right back. I got to go to the bathroom." And she was like, "You better, because we have like a 4 hour drive, whatever long of a drive." And so he was in there. He asked permission, and he walked back out. It was like 2 minutes. She was like, "Jason, I know you did not go to the bathroom in 2 minutes because you're usually
yeah,
in there for like 20. What is going on?" So that's what that story was reminding me of.
yeah. I
Um,
love that
so
their podcast. It's
I,
awesome.
I do too. It's awesome. Okay, so maintenance side, I loved. I worked B-52s as well, but maintenance side, you went into the same. you graduated before Joe and I, but we all worked in the same uh, group in the military.
Yeah.
And then, how did you transition out of that? You retired from the military, and then did
Yep.
what?
So I mean, I kind of went back, so when I retired out of the second career field that I went into, but then I went back and worked on the E4B that I worked on
Oh,
as a maintainer, but I went back as a contractor.
okay. Okay.
And I think I did that for maybe almost a year. And then they ended the contract. So then I had to find something else to do. So shortly after that, I worked at LinkedIn for 10 months. And then while I was doing that, I absolutely hated that, by the way. While I was doing that, I decided to get my CDL, my commercial driver's license, and I went and drove a truck for a year. And then I got back in the DoD as a civilian doing the job I have now. So
Yeah. And it's funny because we've joked about this on the live chat uh, with regards to your hobbies. You know, the
yeah,
jumping around between careers isn't that surprising when you, if especially like the OGs, the guys that come regularly, know about how you how you run through hobbies. And the
yeah,
joke is Cody's hobby is researching other hobbies, and
yeah,
I'm wondering if you can kind of do a deep dive on that, and we can unpack that a
yeah.
little bit.
So it's funny because my wife came up with that. Like she tells people, Cody's hobbies are researching new hobbies because I mean that's really where Walsh and I got big into like gear because we were going to go and play and be airsofters, right? That's what we were looking at. We were like, what kind of gear can we get? What kind of airsoft gun should we get? All that stuff. So I normally get super excited and I'll just research it. And when I say research, I mean watch YouTube videos like
Yeah,
everybody else who's a subscriber of ours. They're the same way. That's probably how they found our channel. But I would just research it, watch video after video, and then finally determine, okay, this is what I want. And so then I'll get it. And then by that time, I probably have something else that I'm researching or looking for. So
yeah.
I have tons of hobbies, tons of things that I'm interested in. Almost none of them do I actually participate in on a regular basis.
Well, and it's, I will say, like, the one that seems to have stuck around though is guns and gear,
Yeah.
right? And so, why do you think that stuck around as long as it did when all the other hobbies, like, I remember you got a drone, there was the airsoft stuff. Um, yeah, I mean, what made guns and gear stick as a hobby that, regardless of what else you do, that one seems to always be there.
To be honest, it's that I have friends that do it with me, right? So doing it, having this hobby, having guns and gear, and doing it with you guys is what keeps me interested in it. So I may do some research and find something and buy a gun that I want, and then you guys may, start talking about a different gun. I'm like, oh, I'm kind of interested in that too. So, or plate carriers or what have you. So
Yeah.
that has been the constant that keeps me in this particular hobby. Like I bought a kayak, and I didn't go. I went straight through the glass ceiling and got like one of the most expensive kayaks possible. And I went two times, and it's because I didn't have someone like, hey, go look
Yeah.
at more kayak stuff, or let's go kayaking, or let's go on these trips. So then I was like, I got bored with it really quick. Um, Same thing with airsoft. Walsh and I bought all that airsoft stuff. We never went and played airsoft. Now, that's my fault. I'm very hard to commit to do anything. I mean, if you guys are at the live chat last night, you realize I went to the range for the first time in probably like a year with Walsh over the weekend, and it's just hard to get me to
Yeah.
go and do anything.
Yeah.
So
But that was, I mean, that was something that I think from what you were saying on the live chat last night, uh, you were you seemed excited about it. Like, I got to shoot this gun, I liked it,
Yeah.
and kind of giving that feedback. So what started you into the gun hobby?
So I mean,
Did you
I
grow up
my
around guns? Your dad a gun
kind of
guy?
so my dad was in the army. He had guns, but we didn't like. I remember a couple times like going out somewhere on like a creek bed or something and shooting like a 44 Magnum or something crazy like that, and a
Hmm.
couple times going on like a gun show. But we didn't hunt, we didn't fish, we didn't do any of that stuff when I was young because he was always gone and I was playing sports. So like I never really got into that stuff. Me and my buddies would go like kayaking or canoeing or boats and stuff like that. We kind of did that a little bit, but I never really got into guns or bow hunting or any of that
Yeah,
until I got into the Air Force and started dabbling in that. Um, and that's why Walsh and I and our other buddy, that's why we actually came over and tried to get into the career field that I ended up getting into because we wanted to go kick indoors and all this other stuff, which um, I didn't end up doing. I just
yeah,
did a bunch of paperwork, but
yeah,
uh, yeah, but that's what kind of started the gun fever, and then started buying guns and learning how to clean them and shoot them and all that stuff. And then when we went, you know, I transitioned over to the new career field. We did a lot of training, and I've just enjoyed it and grown from there.
yeah. And I don't know how it was at every Air Force base. I'm trying to think like all the bases that I was at. I think all of them had a range on base that was open to military members. And I remember one time when I was in Mountain Home, Idaho, they had our unit had a day where they were like it's a sports day. So basically, everyone has a day off, and you go as long as you go and do a sport.
Mm.
So one of my coworkers was like, "Well, ski shooting is a sport." So we went to the skeet range on base and just shot shotguns for like 4 hours. I
Yeah,
didn't own a shotgun at the time. Like he let me use his double barrel, his over under, but we sat out there for like 4 hours just shooting shotguns, and that was our sport for the day. And that was really the first. I think the first. Um, I didn't know anything about guns. I didn't grow up with guns. My family didn't have guns. The very first guns that I bought, guns plural, I bought two high points. I bought a high point
hmm
45 ACP and a high point, I think it was a 40. And then I met
yeah,
Joe, and Joe was like, "Dear God, why do you have this garbage? Get rid
yeah,
of this stuff and buy." I remember him taking me to the gun store near the base, and he was like, "You want?" He was a Springfield fan back then, so this was like 2009, and he's like, "You want to get a Springfield XD? They've done 20,000 rounds of torture testing, and this gun never failed." And I was like, "Oh, man, that sounds amazing. Yeah, let me do that." And then it just kind of spiraled out from there. I was talking to a friend recently, and I remember the last time my wife got a peek inside my gun safe, and she was like, "Where'd all those come from?" I'm like, "Oh, I've had those forever. Yeah,
yeah.
they've been they've been around forever." But I get what you're saying. Like having that type of I don't know, community that encourages you to go out and to use these things that you bought definitely helps stay
Oh yeah.
in that world. Now, what about training? Like, I know there's some training that we went through the career field that we chose, but have
hmm
you ever done any type of outside the military or civilian side training?
No, so my dad bought me a left-handed shotgun. So I got a Remington 870 left-handed. So I'm left-handed. It shoots the shell out on the left side. So he bought me that for my 18th birthday, and bef- right after that, I went to like a hunter safety course, and I think I
Okay,
was still in high school. So That's the only. Well, I'll take that back. I went to like a CCW class, but as far as that's the only two like civilian classes I've ever been to.
Okay. And so, what do you think is? Well, here's an interesting one. Like, what would you say with the amount of time that you spent in the hobby? Do you have a favorite? Do you like shooting pistols or rifles more? And do you have a favorite in either of those categories?
I'll say I like shooting rifles. Um, so I mean, I don't have like a specialty. Like I'm not really good at any of it. Uh,
Hmm.
I but I like what I like is shooting like steel. So shooting at
Okay.
targets is fine because then you can kind of you can see where you're hitting. But I like the instant feedback that steel
Oh
gives you.
yeah.
For instance, Walsh and I briefly mentioned that we met Andrew at the range and he let us shoot like this precision 22 that he had. But
Right.
at like I don't know how far it was, 50 yards or maybe. He had a little stand, had little popsicle targets, and you shoot them, and it flips up the back. Right, there's four of them, and then you hit the top one, and they fall back down.
Oh
That
yeah. Okay.
that was fun. That was a blast. But it was just I like instant, feedback. Like, oh, yep, you hit the target. Yeah,
Yeah.
hitting paper is good, like I said, because then you really know if you're using all the correct fundamentals. But yeah, I like shooting steel.
Yeah. We did one the last time I went out to qual. We had a dueling tree. I don't know if you've ever done a
Hmm.
dueling tree
Yeah,
before,
yeah,
but that really taught you like shot placement. So you could hit the your side of the dueling tree, and it would
hmm,
not kick the steel over to the other side because you didn't have it was right on the edge or it was on
hmm,
the arm. It wasn't on the actual circle. But I get what you're saying. Like having that instant feedback of where you're hitting and then making sure that you're adjusting. I think dueling trees or something like what you're talking about for the 22, a great way to get that type of feedback.
yeah, yeah. Because I mean, it puts pressure on you too, right? So if you're not doing the proper fundamentals, if you're not hitting where you're aiming, you're gonna lose. One, but it also teaches you follow through, like trigger reset and moving to the next target and all that stuff. So
Right.
I love the dueling tree. That's a great way to learn. Other than being in a physical duel where someone's shooting at you, that's probably the most pressure you can put on yourself, right? So I really like that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And it's kind of interesting because this kind of goes back to the first question, getting into each other's background and um, ha- being in a career field. I don't think a lot of people think of this, but being in a career field where you are in the Air Force and there's times where you may come under fire in this career field, you may have to return fire. That's very rare in the Air Force. Like there's not a lot of
Yeah,
career fields that I'm not going to say give you that opportunity, but where you might be presented with that situation, and that's deployed or stateside. Right? I
hmm,
mean, you
yeah,
you have a really bad. Well, yeah, we'll get into that, but we won't get into that. But it's very strange when you talk to people. When I talk to people, I'm like, yeah, I was in the Air Force. Well, you don't know anything about firearms, like, bro. We've had some close calls over the years
yeah,
in our career field.
yeah. And I like that we do make light of what we talk about on this channel, like talking about wizards and all
Yeah,
this other stuff, and we do have a good time with it. But this is a serious conversation that we have on our channel. Like we typically are reviewing gear or reviewing weapons, and the underlying tone of it is like a end of the world, apocalyptic, you know,
yeah,
stuff has hit the fan situation, and that's we do understand that and we do recognize that, but at the same time we're having fun just like everybody else. But
right.
I also appreciate that we let people know, listen, these are our opinions, but we're not by any means are we special forces or anything like that. So
Right. Yeah. I'm I'm curious too with your background and spending time like you have on you. I mean, there's a couple reviews that you video reviews that we have on the channel with you, and
mhm.
then there's very few instances where you've missed a live chat. You're almost on every live chat. But so with your knowledge of the YouTube world and your background in the military and with your career field, are there any I don't uh, are there any other content creators that you really enjoy watching because they seem so, they're just regular guys?
Yeah, so I mean, when I was getting into YouTube back in the day, I watched Nothing Fancy.
Oh, that's right.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and but he gets so like detailed. His videos are so long, but I mean that was back in the day when really no one else was doing this.
Hmm.
Um, and but that's what got me started about everyday carry gear and like what kind of stuff do I need on me when I'm moving about my day.
Yeah.
Um, I've always loved Demolition Ranch, or that I just love his content. I even loved when he was building his his mansion, and now he has like a resort or something.
Yeah.
I haven't watched in a while, but I've
Yeah.
always loved that content. Uh, but to be honest with you, a lot of times I watch all kinds of stuff. I watch this couple that build little cabins out of containers, like
Oh, okay.
the metal containers. But uh, I don't, I personally think that we're a pretty unique channel. Like we try to keep it like we're just dads, right? We're just
Yeah.
dads that like guns, we like gear, and we like hanging out and talking. Like, yeah, we don't live in the same area except for me and Walsh, and this is just be like us sitting in the backyard talking about stuff. So
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting because, I think looking at those, like Nut and Fancy and Demolition, what's his name? Matt from Demolition
mhm.
Ranch, I think.
Yeah,
I get that where I'm with you. Like I watch a Nut and Fancy video, I'm like, oh my gosh, this
yeah,
40 minutes to talk about a trigger. Like, no thanks. And then Demolition Ranch, one of our early podcast hosts or podcast guests, Rebels Raiders, went to some event that they had. I think it was in Texas, and there was a bunch of
okay,
influencers that came in, and he talked about this on his, I think it was on Instagram or Twitter, where he said Tim Kennedy showed up to this event in a helicopter, and everyone was just
mhm.
kind of like, man. Matt from Demolition Ranch showed up, and it was just like people love that guy,
Yeah,
and he's
yeah,
super entertaining. I agree with him. Like very entertaining guy. I love his content. He's always doing like just crazy stuff. Like can we shoot a tank cartridge through a ballistics gel dummy? Well, we're gonna give it a shot. Let's find out.
yeah. He
You're just
would.
like,
I mean, he wasn't afraid to like blow stuff up. Like he bought, I don't know, 19 high points
yeah,
and like stuff down the barrel and shot them just to see and just to see what they would do.
yeah.
And it's not scientific whatsoever. It's just like, I got an idea. I'm gonna do this.
And it's funny because I don't. Maybe we'll get there, but there's sometimes where we'll think of something like that. Like, the whole wizard joke, I think
Mhm.
started with you because we had one of our group chats and Walsh was talking about this company that was saying some negative stuff about one of Walsh's reviews. And I
Mhm.
thought it was you that said something like, what do they expect? What do they want us to be, like level 100 wizards? And
Yeah,
it was
that
Walsh with that. He's
and
like, I'm going to run with that.
yeah, that was always kind of my running joke, even back in maintenance, because those guys would play Magic and stuff, and they would talk about uh, cards that they have, like, oh, I got this, and I would always be like, oh, you got a flying 100 wizard or whatever, and and people are like, this dude doesn't know what he's talking about. So that's always kind of stuck with me, and that I thought that was an appropriate comparison when we were going through that. So
Yeah. Yeah, and it's been, we joke about stuff, and some of those jokes stay around. Like there's probably people that they probably watched our live chat last night and they were like, "Who's this Jimothy character?" And like,
yeah,
"Why is there a wizard riding an alligator?" And it's like,
yeah.
bro, it's too long to explain. We can't. If you weren't here, sorry. Join our Discord.
But
Hopefully you get caught up.
I 100% love how our crew and our guys that come out every week, how they just fall in love with all the stupid little characters that just grow out of this group, and how people embrace all the stupid stuff we talk about. So it's been a blast.
Yeah, and I think that opportunity to engage with our viewers is
Yeah,
super entertaining. I really enjoy
yeah. I
it.
I haven't. I mean, I know there's a lot of live, uh, podcasts and live chats out there. But I mean, and I'm not trying to toot our own horns, but we really want to do that to interact with with the subscribers. Same thing with the Discord. Like, we knew nothing about that until someone brought it up. Like, hey, do you have a Discord? And then they started building channels in there, and now it's like it's its own monster. Like, we can't
Yeah.
even keep up with that thing. So it's
No, and it's funny because they'll tag. Like I think I have someone that tagged me, and
yeah,
but I'm so far behind on comments on our Discord. So like I'll just scroll to the bottom, and if it's super important, they'll send me another message, I guess.
yeah,
So I get
yeah.
that.
I'm the same way. Like, unless somebody tags me or sends me a DM or tags everyone or whatever, like, I typically don't. I've turned off the notification because that thing just goes off all night. But
Yep, I get that.
every once in a while, I'll jump in there and see what kind of craziness everybody's talking about.
Well, that's awesome, man. I don't have any other questions that I've jotted down for you. I appreciate
Yeah,
taking some time and um, coming on here and just learning more about you and kind of spreading our knowledge of Cody with our viewers.
yeah. No,
So
like I said
Discord,
before, like, go ahead.
I was gonna say, if people want to get a hold of you, they have to either tag you or DM you on Discord. Is
Yeah,
really it.
uh, yeah. I have I have a TLD email, but I don't think I'm not important enough to get any emails on there. So, but yeah, if anybody wants to talk to me directly for whatever reason, it's normally about, hey, I'm a big boy too. What kind of gear fits people with tactical girth? And definitely reach out to me. I'm that person in our group. Uh, so don't. I definitely wouldn't want to talk to me about diet plans or fitness goals or any of that stuff. So, but if you're a big boy looking for big boy gear, let me know.
He's the guy. Awesome,
Yeah,
man. Well, hey, I appreciate you taking time out of your day to chat with us. And to our viewers, hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and we will catch you on our next episode.
yeah.
Adios.
See you later.